I hear you. Leg cramps can be frustrating, especially when they wake you in the middle of the night or make it harder to get around during the day. I've had so many patients tell me the same story. That sharp, sudden pain that leaves you rubbing your leg, wondering why it keeps happening. And sometimes, they've already been told, "Oh, that's just part of getting older," which can feel dismissive. But I want you to know that while leg cramps are common, they are not something you simply have to live with. There are gentle, practical steps you can take, and food can be one of the most effective places to start. When I think about helping someone with cramps, my mind goes first to the basics. Muscles need fuel and balance. They contract and relax because of signals between your nerves and electrolytes, things like calcium, potassium, and magnesium. If those signals are disrupted, muscles can spasm. That's where nutrition becomes so important, because what you eat directly shapes how well those muscles can do their job. And the good news is, it doesn't require complicated supplements or expensive powders. Often it comes down to simple foods that you might already have in your kitchen. I'll also say this, it's not just about the science. It's about comfort, dignity, and quality of life. When I see a patient who has been losing sleep from cramps, or who avoids going for walks because they're worried the pain will strike, I see more than a symptom. I see the impact on their independence and their peace of mind. That's why I'm so careful to explain small, real changes that actually fit into daily routines. Nothing extreme, nothing overwhelming, just little habits that make a difference. So today, I'd like to share with you 3 foods that I've consistently seen help my patients prevent leg cramps and strengthen their muscles. Each one has its own story, its own benefits. Let's talk about eggs. Now, I know some people feel cautious about them because of cholesterol, but when it comes to supporting muscle health, eggs really do deserve their reputation as a powerhouse food. What I've seen in many of my older patients is that cramps often appear when muscles are struggling to recover, and eggs provide one of the cleanest, most complete sources of protein to help with that recovery. One large egg gives you about 6 grams of high-quality protein, which means it contains all the essential amino acids your muscles need to repair and grow stronger. For someone dealing with leg cramps, that steady supply of building blocks can make a real difference. But protein isn't the only reason eggs are helpful. They also contain vitamin D, which plays an important role in helping your body absorb calcium and keep your muscles functioning properly. Without enough vitamin D, cramps, weakness, and even ongoing muscle pain can become more frequent. Many older adults don't spend much time in the sun, which is our main natural source of vitamin D, so getting it through food becomes especially important. Egg yolks are one of the few natural food sources of vitamin D, and adding them to your meals can be a simple way to support both your muscles and your bones. Another nutrient in eggs that often goes unnoticed is vitamin B12. This vitamin is critical for healthy nerve function. When B12 levels are too low, the communication between your nerves and muscles doesn't work as smoothly, and that can lead to cramping, tingling, or even burning sensations in the legs. Seniors are especially vulnerable to B12 deficiency because the stomach produces less acid with age, making it harder to absorb from food. Eggs are one of the easier, gentler ways to bring B12 back into the diet without needing heavy supplements right away. Now, you don't need to overdo it. For most PO, bananas are often the first food people think of when they hear the word potassium, and for good reason. Potassium is one of the most important minerals for muscle function, helping regulate how your muscles contract and relax. When potassium levels drop too low, your muscles can become irritable, which makes them more likely to spasm and cramp. For many of my patients who experience frequent leg cramps, simply bringing more potassium-rich foods into their routine has made a noticeable difference. One medium banana contains about 400 milligrams of potassium, which is around 12% of what you need in a day. That may not sound like much on its own, but when you include a banana with your breakfast or as an afternoon snack, it adds up over time. And because bananas are also easy to digest and naturally sweet, they fit comfortably into most diets without causing strain on the stomach. For seniors who may already be taking medications like diuretics, which can deplete potassium, Bananas can be an especially practical way to keep levels steady, but potassium is not the only benefit here. Bananas also contain magnesium, another mineral that plays a key role in muscle relaxation. Magnesium helps calm down the overactive electrical signals in your muscles, which is why low magnesium often shows up as twitching or cramping. Along with that, bananas provide vitamin B6, which supports nerve function and helps your body produce neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that allow your nerves and muscles to communicate effectively. When these nutrients work together, they help restore balance, reduce muscle tension, and improve recovery after activity. I've often encouraged my patients who struggle with nighttime leg cramps to try eating a banana about an hour before bed, along with a glass of water. It's not a magic cure, but for many it reduces the frequency. Nuts and seeds might not be the first foods that come to mind when you think about preventing leg cramps, but they are one of the most effective ways to restore balance to muscles. They are rich in magnesium, potassium, protein, and healthy fats, a combination that supports muscle relaxation, circulation, and recovery. For many of my patients, especially those who experience cramps after walking or light exercise, adding a small handful of nuts or sprinkling seeds onto a meal has made a surprising difference. Let's start with magnesium. This mineral often goes unnoticed, but it is crucial for keeping muscles calm. Without enough magnesium, muscles become excitable and prone to twitching or cramping. Just 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds provides about 40% of your daily magnesium needs, while almonds and cashews also offer steady amounts. Adding these foods regularly helps restore what your body may be missing and reduces the likelihood of nighttime cramps that disturb your rest. Potassium is another key piece, and while bananas often get the spotlight, nuts like pistachios and almonds also provide valuable amounts. Together with magnesium, potassium helps regulate the flow of signals between your nerves and muscles, ensuring that contractions and relaxations happen smoothly. When either one is too low, cramps can become frequent and painful, but bringing them back into balance can restore comfort and confidence in your movement. The healthy fats in nuts and seeds also play a role that's often overlooked. These fats support circulation, helping your blood deliver oxygen and nutrients to muscle tissue. Better circulation means muscles are less likely to spasm from lack of supply. Omega-3 fats, found in walnuts and flax seeds, reduce inflammation in muscle fibers, while monounsaturated fats in almonds and cashews help blood flow more freely. Over time, this combination not only reduces cramping, but also supports healthier joints and overall mobility. Now, portion size does matter. Nuts and seeds are nutrient-dense, but also calorie-dense. A small handful each day, or 2 tablespoons of seeds, is usually enough to give your muscles the support they need without overwhelming your digestion. Choosing unsalted or lightly roasted versions helps avoid extra sodium, which can sometimes worsen dehydration and cramping. So, with eggs, bananas, and nuts or seeds, we already have 3 strong food allies for preventing leg cramps. But food is only one part of the story. To really understand why cramps keep returning, we need to look at what else might be happening in the body. And this often takes us into the bigger challenges patients face within the healthcare system itself. When we talk about cramps, or really any ongoing health issue, food and nutrition are only part of the picture. The bigger challenge I often see is how difficult it can be for patients to get a clear diagnosis or even feel fully heard. Many people I've met have spent months, sometimes years, telling different doctors about their cramps, their fatigue, or their pain, only to be told it's normal aging or nothing to worry about. That dismissal, what some call medical gaslighting, can leave patients feeling frustrated, anxious, and even doubting themselves. I remember a patient in her 70s who came to me after being told repeatedly that her nighttime leg cramps were just part of getting older. She was exhausted because the pain kept waking her up several times a night. When we looked closer, we found she was on a medication that was depleting her magnesium and potassium. Once we adjusted her diet and reviewed her medication with her pharmacist, her cramps improved within weeks. The problem wasn't her age. It was a preventable imbalance that had been overlooked because no one had taken the time to listen carefully. Delayed diagnosis like this is common, not because doctors don't care, but because the system is stretched thin. Short appointments, rushed schedules, and a focus on lab results can sometimes mean the human story gets missed. And when patients feel brushed aside, they may stop bringing up symptoms altogether, which only delays the help they need. This is why I encourage my patients to advocate for themselves, to write down their symptoms, to ask about side effects, and to insist gently but firmly when something doesn't feel right. Your lived experience matters just as much as your test results. For leg cramps, this means looking at the whole picture: your diet, your hydration, your medications, your activity level, and even your sleep patterns. Sometimes the answer is simple, like adding more potassium. Other times it takes patience and teamwork to uncover the root cause. Either way, the process should leave you feeling supported, not dismissed. Now, as we explore this further, it's worth talking about why following through with simple recommendations, like eating more of these foods or staying hydrated, can still feel difficult. Because knowing what helps and actually doing it every day are two very different challenges, especially when life gets complicated. One of the biggest challenges I see in my older patients is not a lack of knowledge, but the difficulty of following through. You might know that bananas help with potassium or that nuts provide magnesium, but when daily life feels overwhelming, these changes can slip through the cracks. For seniors, even simple barriers like limited mobility, low appetite, or living alone can make it harder to prepare balanced meals. And when you're tired from disrupted sleep caused by cramps, the cycle becomes even tougher to break. I've had patients tell me they buy bananas with every intention of eating them, but a week later, they find them overripe on the counter. Or they purchase nuts but forget they're sitting in the pantry. These may seem like small things, but they highlight the real challenge of turning good advice into a consistent habit. And habits are what truly make the difference when it comes to reducing leg cramps and supporting long-term muscle health. Another factor is emotional weight. When a person has been dismissed before by a healthcare provider or told their pain is just part of aging, it's easy to lose motivation. Why keep trying, they think, if nothing changes? That sense of defeat can prevent people from sticking with small, steady changes that really do help over time. It's not about willpower. It's about rebuilding trust in the process and in your own ability to feel better. That's why I often recommend starting small. Instead of aiming for a perfect diet, choose just one habit you know you can keep. Maybe a banana before bed, or a boiled egg with breakfast 3 times a week. Once that feels natural, you add another. Little by little, those small steps build into lasting change. And the best part is, once you start noticing fewer cramps, the motivation to continue grows naturally. So far, we've looked at foods that support muscle and nerve health, and we've talked about the system challenges that can make things harder. But there's another piece that often gets overlooked: hydration. Because no matter how much magnesium or potassium you take in, if your body is even slightly dehydrated, cramps can still show up. Dehydration is one of the most common and overlooked reasons for leg cramps, especially in older adults. Even mild fluid loss can make muscles more sensitive, increasing the likelihood of spasms. What many people don't realize is that as we age, the body's sense of thirst becomes less reliable. By the time you actually feel thirsty, you may already be somewhat dehydrated. This is why cramps often strike at night, when the body has gone hours without water. Water is the foundation, but electrolytes are just as important. Electrolytes are minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium that carry electrical signals to and from your muscles. If these are out of balance, hydration alone may not solve the problem. That's why a balanced approach matters. Drinking water throughout the day and including foods that naturally replace electrolytes. Bananas, nuts, leafy greens, and even dairy can all help keep that balance steady. Another thing I've noticed in my patients is that medications can play a role. Diuretics, often prescribed for blood pressure or heart conditions, make the body lose more water and electrolytes. This can set the stage for frequent leg cramps, unless hydration is carefully maintained. The same goes for certain diabetes or cholesterol medications. Being aware of these effects allows you to adjust your diet and water intake proactively, rather than waiting for cramps to become a nightly problem. Practical steps can make hydration easier. Keeping a water bottle nearby, sipping small amounts throughout the day, and pairing water with meals are simple habits that add up. Herbal teas, diluted fruit juice, or broths can also count toward your daily fluids if plain water feels boring. And for those who wake with nighttime cramps, a small glass of water before bed can sometimes make a noticeable difference. But hydration is only part of the puzzle. Muscles also need good circulation and gentle activity to stay relaxed. That's why the next step is looking at how movement, stretching, and light exercise can keep cramps from returning again and again. Movement is medicine, especially when it comes to preventing leg cramps. Muscles that stay still for too long are more likely to tighten and spasm. This is why cramps often happen at night or after sitting for extended periods. Gentle activity keeps blood flowing, delivering oxygen and nutrients that muscles need to stay relaxed. Even small amounts of movement can make a big difference when practiced consistently. Stretching before bed is one of the simplest tools I recommend. A gentle calf stretch against the wall or seated hamstring stretch takes less than a minute, but can release tension that builds throughout the day. Many patients have told me that this small ritual before bedtime cut down their nighttime cramps significantly. It's not about pushing hard or straining. It's about giving muscles a signal to relax before rest. Walking is another powerful, yet underrated solution. A daily walk, even for just 10 to 15 minutes, encourages circulation and keeps the leg muscles active. For seniors who struggle with balance, walking indoors or using support like a cane or walker is perfectly fine. The goal is steady, safe movement, not speed or distance. Over time, this simple practice strengthens muscles and reduces the likelihood of sudden spasms. Low-impact exercises like swimming or stationary cycling also provide gentle conditioning without placing too much stress on the joints. These activities combine movement with circulation, which is exactly what muscles need to remain healthy. Even chair exercises, such as ankle rolls or leg lifts, can be helpful for those with limited mobility. The key is to find a routine that feels doable and safe for your body. Still, movement doesn't solve everything on its own. Sometimes cramps are a sign of something deeper, such as circulation problems, nerve compression, or medication side effects. That's why it's important to see leg cramps, not just as a nuisance, but as a signal from the body that deserves attention. While most leg cramps are harmless and linked to things like dehydration, nutrition, or inactivity, sometimes they can be a signal of a deeper health issue. I always remind my patients to pay attention to patterns. If cramps come with swelling, skin color changes, or persistent pain that doesn't ease with stretching, it may point to circulation problems, like peripheral artery disease. In these cases, muscles aren't getting enough blood flow, and ignoring the signs could delay important treatment. Nerve issues are another possible cause. Conditions such as neuropathy, often linked with diabetes, can make the legs more prone to cramping. The cramps themselves may not be dangerous, but they can be a clue that nerves are under stress. When we take these symptoms seriously, we can address the root problem early, rather than waiting until it worsens. Medications, too, deserve another careful look. I've seen patients who assumed cramps were just age-related, only to discover they were side effects of drugs they were taking for blood pressure, cholesterol, or even sleep. The good news is that with a doctor's guidance, these medications can sometimes be adjusted or paired with dietary strategies to ease the side effects without sacrificing the benefits. The main point here is not to ignore cramps, especially if they change suddenly in frequency, intensity, or pattern. Your body is wise, and cramps can be its way of asking for attention. When we treat them as meaningful signals rather than just annoyances, we can uncover hidden imbalances or even prevent more serious issues down the road. Now, as we bring everything together, let's step into the final section. This is where we connect the practical advice, nutrition, hydration, movement, and awareness, into one clear message of hope and control over your health. Leg cramps may seem small compared to other health concerns, but for many seniors, they affect sleep, mood, and daily comfort in a very real way. What we've explored together is that they are not just random or inevitable. They often point to simple, correctable imbalances in diet, hydration, activity, or medications. By paying attention to these signals, you can take practical steps that ease the pain and give you back a sense of control. Start with the basics. Add foods rich in potassium, magnesium, and calcium, and keep water nearby throughout the day. Notice how your medications may be affecting your body, and bring up any concerns with your doctor instead of assuming it's just aging. Stretch before bed, walk when you can, and trust that small, steady habits add up over time. These are not complicated fixes, but they are powerful when practiced with consistency. Most importantly, don't dismiss your own experience. If cramps are disrupting your life, speak up. Write down your symptoms, share them with your healthcare provider, and ask the questions that matter to you. You deserve to be heard, and your discomfort deserves to be taken seriously. Far too often, people accept these struggles as something they must endure, when in reality, relief is often within reach. The bigger picture is hope. Leg cramps are not a sign of weakness or decline. They are a signal, and signals can be acted on. With the right mix of awareness, nutrition, hydration, movement, and medical support, it is possible to reduce or even eliminate them. And in the process, you're not just easing cramps, you're investing in stronger, healthier muscles and better sleep for the years ahead.